Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to today's edition of The Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys stopping by the channel, spend a little bit of time with me. Always very grateful for that. And guys, today we're going to be talking about the best piece of advice that I can give you as a bass angler that's going to help you catch more fish. There's a lot of advice to get out there, but there's one particular thing that if I can give you guys one piece of advice that will help you catch more bass, we're going to talk about that in today's video. And guys, before we get started here, I just want to remind you about our spring sale on my signature series Solar Bat sunglasses. If you get a pair during the sale, you can get them at 25% off. And also any purchase over $100, you get a $30 grab bag from Solar Bat. And we got the RB3 series, which is just the crystallized matte gray finish, or we got the RB2 series, which is the more just the darker frames out there. And I'll put the Solar Bat link in the description if you guys would like to get you a pair. So much appreciated. Okay guys, fishing is it's hard, man. I'm telling you, bass fishing, it is hard to consistently catch fish day in and day out. But one of the things about it is there's some few things you can do to really make incremental increases in your success level. Now, one of the things in fishing that you're going to find out about is that you got to be patient with fishing, because the learning process is a lifelong thing that you never accomplish. You're always learning. So, be patient a little bit, before anything else out there. Just realize that, learn slow, learn incrementally, and everything is going to come as a matter of time. But the main thing I want to talk about, guys, as far as the best piece of advice I can give you, is that you have got to learn to fish at the right pace. Fishing, and what I mean by that is, you hear a lot of people say, well, man, I really need to slow down. I'm fishing too fast, or I need to cover more water. Don't think in terms of fishing fast, medium, or slow any particular day out there. The thing that you have to identify, and when I'm talking about pace, is you got to identify the right pace for the day, because the pace is determined by a lot of different factors. When I'm talking about pace, I'm talking about the speed that will allow you to most efficiently and effectively cover the water. Now, sometimes that can mean slow, and sometimes that can mean medium, and sometimes that can be fast. But you have to find what that is for the day. And a lot of it just has to do with the level of aggressiveness that a fish has that particular day. It also has stuff to do with, like, your sky conditions, your water temperature, your water clarity, the type of cover that you have, and the amount of cover that you have. So let me give you a couple different scenarios to sort of go what I'm talking about here. If you're fishing like a straight stretch of riprap bank that's just straight rock out there, that is a type of scenario that you can fish a little bit faster on there, because you're not really trying to target any type of specific isolated cover. So say, for example, if you're throwing a spinnerbait or a crankbait or jerkbait on a riprap, you can pick up the pace a little bit. And you don't, not say that you can fish and fast through there, but you can move through there at a pretty consistent level. But let's say that same stretch of riprap, there's quite a few lay down trees on it. Maybe there's a storm blew down 15 or 20 trees. And at that point, when you're working that same piece of riprap, you have to slow down enough to methodically and effectively fish whatever wood cover is on those trees out there. Now, again, that depends on your technique. If you're fishing nothing but a spinnerbait and a crankbait, you can make two or three casts around the outside edge of that piece of cover and move on. But if you're like flipping or pitching into the interior of that laydown, obviously you're going to have to slow down and pick it apart a little bit. But the main thing that you want to do, it doesn't matter if you're fishing a straight section of riprap or if you're fishing targets like lay down trees or anything like that, you don't ever want to slop through an area. And what I mean by slopping through an area is you don't want to go through that area and just make a few token casts, maybe go through a little bit too fast and not put the bait where it needs to be. You need to really slow down, be methodical, put the bait where it needs to be down. And at the same time, when I talk about slow down, that slowing down is all relative to the type of cover that you're fishing. Now, let's go back to the lay down tree on the riprap bank. It's like when I'm talking about you got to slow down and really probe around on the interior of that tree, I don't mean that you have to sit by that tree and just fish it for 10 minutes without moving. I'm talking about when you approach a tree like that, make a couple casts around the outside, make 2 or 3 casts on the inside of the tree, and then go on to the next one out there. That way, you know, you can almost do that as you're drifting past it real slowly. Now, if you're fishing an open bank, like a rocky bank or the riprap bank we're talking about again, even though there's nothing there and you can pick up the pace a little bit, you want to make sure that you're thoroughly covering that water at a combination of effectively covering every place that you think there's bass and covering water in order to put yourself in a position to catch those fish that are scattered a little bit. So if you're fishing a crankbait out there, make sure that you don't like cast as far as you can and reel that bait in and make another cast as far as you can out there, because when you do that, you know, you're not covering a lot of the water as far as the angle of the crankbait is in its maximum depth in a lot more tighter area. So in other words, what I'm talking about, if you're on a straight section out there, is make sure that you have your boat going slow enough that you can cover like every square inch of that, where you're not bypassing any section of the riprap. You always want to hit like every single foot of the riprap that you can. And again, that's based upon the speed or retrieve that you're using for your lure, the type of lure that you're using. But always think in terms of trying to be efficient and put the lure in front of the bass at a speed and a rate of retrieve that's conducive to getting the strike for the bass, and simply covering a lot of water. Now, at times, covering water is the deal. I've seen times, like for example, if I'm fishing a topwater lure, like a whopper plopper or a walking topwater like a spook, where it's simply a matter of putting that trolling motor on pretty fast and just casting that thing as far as you can and just working it at a good pace and just covering water. You may catch one, you know, here, and then you may catch another one another 300 yards down the bank. Scenarios like that require a faster pace when you're talking about the fish just being scattered and they're not setting up on any particular piece of cover. The more the bass relate to specific isolated pieces of cover or cover in general, that's when you have to really slow down, because you can't effectively and efficiently hit those areas. Say, for example, if you're flipping a boat dock, flipping a flooded tree, flipping a grass bed, anything like that, those are the techniques that require you to slow down to make those presentations effective on there. If you pull up to a boat dock, say a pier boat dock that's got piers on it, there may be 20 or 30 piers on that boat dock. So if you're going to effectively fish that dock, and you think, unless you've isolated exactly what piers those docks are on, you may have to pitch around almost every pier on that dock if you're catching fish off of a variety of different pier locations. Sometimes they all may be on the outside, or they may be on the walkway. So pay attention to where your strikes are coming there. But anyway, the point of the video, guys, is don't ever think in terms of, like, you know, going out, slowing down, speeding up. Figure out the right pace for the day and for the type of cover you're fishing. Again, maximize your efficiency, maximize the amount of water that you cover, and just listen to what the fish are telling you in general. So hope it helps out. We'll talk later.